listeners! We're your sensational hosts, Drucilla and Gilsey.
Hi!
Welcome to Moon Moment. And because I couldn't convince Gilsey to make this week's episode all about Miraculous Ladybug, we're talking about Sailormoon. Moon Moment's the show where we discuss the Sailormoon canon for what we call Moon Moments.
We could talk about Miraculous Ladybug. I am very easily persuaded. But this is a Sailor Moon podcast, and I have to put my foot down somewhere. So, these are moments that we feel exemplify what Sailor Moon stands for. Sailor Moon, although I love Miraculous Ladybug, don't get me wrong, what Sailor Moon stands for and represents. Now, without further ado, let's jump in, because this time I'm talking about the summary, and we are discussing episodes 38 to 42. And I really don't know if we're the ones watching the show or if the show is watching us. Because as we're recording this, the Olympics are going on and it's going on full swing. And of course, these episodes have a whole sporty Olympic vibe to it. Because first, Usagi and the gang are off to the ski resort after seeing a flyer with a Moon Princess competition. Definitely not a ploy by the Dark Kingdom to lure the girls in. And neither is that skating lesson with the Olympic figure skating pair that will only let in groups of 5. Usagi may be a known blockhead, but do none of the girls see through these plans? Ami, girl, I'm looking at you, no? But the girls still manage to ice out the competition and save the day. It wouldn't be an anime season without a hot spring episode. So Usagi and her family are off to have a family getaway, but of course a yokai of a scorned jealous lover gets resurrected from the lake. The family actually shows affection for Usagi, which is a huge shock. Things start to get a little heated when the whole family gets involved, but the rest of the Guardians show up and help to save the day. Then our favorite future predicting psychic, who is also in love with Ami, it's Rio, comes back because Endymion, aka Tuxedo Mask, aka Mamoru, he needs to have his own list to keep up with his own identities, is collecting the 7 great monsters to make one big monster. This sounds like an episode from Yu-Gi-Oh! Collecting the Exodio cards. Anyway, Rio is still very clearly in love with Ami, and Mako spits out some straight facts. Ami, girl, just from the heart, we know Rio isn't quote-unquote just a friend. Girl! We finally have an amusement park date between the two, and Mamoru almost gets turned back into being the good guy, but then the Dark Kingdom gets to him first, blah, blah, blah. That happens too. Last, we get a soap opera daytime Emmy-worthy glimpse into Minako's past before she joins the Sailor Scout and her unrequited love with a much older guy who ends up with her Interpol cop friend who is much closer to his age. Dodged a age bullet there, but Interpol friend gets turned into a monster, and Sailor Venus and Sailor Moon are there to save the day. And scene! There was only one moon moment for me during these episodes, as entertaining as they were. What do you think?
For these episodes, I only had one moon moment. It's from the same episode as yours. Do you want to go ahead and tackle that episode, or do you want to start, if there's anything we want to talk about in other episodes, we'll do that first.
I don't even have any mini moments. I think it was just that one moon moment, and then everything else is like, oh, this is nice. I mean, I feel like it's more decent human being things, but not anything that I thought was a notable mini moon moment.
Yeah, I didn't have any other mini moon moments, but I did have some stuff that I wanted to note. Well, I had a lot of stuff I wanted to note, but I will keep it, considering how long our last recording was, I will keep it to the bare minimum.
I think the closest mini moon moment would be when Rio comes back and Ami is talking to him about just letting yourself feel things. I think that's also kind of what she was parroting what Mako was saying to him. And I see it, this just goes back to the whole being a decent human being thing. I think we talked about it in a previous episode where Ami was kind of being that shoulder to cry on, being like that rock for Rio. And I think that one actually did become a moon moment. I don't really remember.
I don't remember either. I actually don't remember us discussing that at all, to be honest. Yeah, I guess I'll have to go back and listen to it.
I don't remember if it actually became a moon moment. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, it just felt like it was really great. It was really nice. Ami is a sweetheart, and the whole Mako being like, you need to allow yourself to feel these things. You can't just keep running away from it. And Ami being like, you should just live in this moment. I think it's a good thing to say, but it wasn't really, like, life-altering isn't the exact words I'm looking for, but it didn't really ring any moon moment bells for me.
Yeah, I did really like what she said to him, and I'm 80% sure this is in the Japanese version and not the deep version. But I liked what she said about how wanting to sacrifice yourself is really noble, but it's also like giving up. I really liked that statement, or the train of thought, just because it's something that it's always frustrated me. You read these classic stories or see these golden age Hollywood movies, and the protagonist has to sacrifice himself for his lady love. And it always frustrated me. It's like, no, you should fight as much as you can. I know you want to protect this person or protect the planet, but you should go in with the mentality, I'm going to beat this and I'm getting back to the people I care about. It's like, if I have to sacrifice myself so that they'll be safe, okay. But
that should be like a last resort kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like once the whole, I'm going to give myself up for the betterment of these people, it's like, you could still fight. Why are you resorting to this? You don't have to die. You don't have to sacrifice yourself.
And I wonder if we might have a different opinion on this in the next episode coming up on D Point. The girls know they're basically going to their death, but they're going to try to buy as much time as possible, and they're going to try to take out as many monsters as possible. I think this also sort of goes back to something that we both, I think, kind of got frustrated with in the last episode, when we were talking about how after Usagi as the Moon Princess has been revealed, Kunzite attacks the girls, and Venus and Jupiter just get immediately taken out by their own powers. But then Ray tries the exact same thing, and maybe it was just me that was frustrated with that. But I think this sort of goes back to that, and you should always be trying to fight. You should always be trying to make progress, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I really liked that moment of Ami telling Ryu that you shouldn't just give into it. You need to fight. Even if you think it's inevitable, you still should fight.
Would you call it a moon moment or a mini moon moment?
I didn't have it down as a moon moment. It was just something I really liked, but maybe it should be some sort of moon moment, because it's almost like she's Rei slapping Usagi. Like, she's trying to tell Ryu that it's great and all that you want to be the noble hero and sacrifice yourself, but maybe try to fight a little bit rather than just accepting your fate. That's also ironic, I guess, considering this is a show all about hey, this is who you were in a past life, and so now it's your destiny to just keep being that. Maybe this is the wrong show for Ami's statement. What do you think? Should it be... because they do have, a relatively long conversation. about this topic. So, do you think it a full-on moon moment or a mini moment?
See, I don't think it would be a full-on moon moment because I feel like Ami had this conversation with Ryu before, and it didn't stick, and he's still that self-sacrificing, trying to be hero, or he is a hero, but he keeps trying to sacrifice himself, even though he has psychic powers and can see the future. So, doesn't feel like it stuck. I think in the moment when they were fighting Endymion and all that, but he still leaps in front of her. I don't know if that conversation really resonated with him. Like, I feel like he would have done something else other than leaping in front of her, or I don't know, running behind Endymion and distracting him or something. It just still feels like he kind of went in one ear and out the other.
Yeah, I guess you do bring up a really great point. This is sort of the same conversation that they had in his other episode. I think in the other episode it was more, you can change your fate. Just because you see that you're going to get turned into a monster doesn't mean that it's inevitable or that you have to go along with it. But
like, you don't have to make it so easy for it to actually happen.
Yeah. And this one, it's more about sacrifice versus destiny, I guess, fate. But yeah, I think it's basically the same conversation. And
like, he tried, kind of. I wouldn't give him a gold star for effort. He tries in the loosest definition possible, where he first runs into, I think he's Mamoru at this point, in the crosswalk, and he's like, oh, help, this person is like a bad guy or something. It still didn't really do much, I guess.
Yeah,
in terms of the conversation.
Yeah, he does try, and I really just like that because it's such a low-key thing to do. There's this super evil guy coming at you, and I don't know, it's the heroes say, we have to get out of a populated area. But in this case, Ryu used the populated area to his advantage. Maybe his powers, he knew that Endymion wasn't going to just start cutting down pedestrians to go after him. But that moment I did sort of want to bring up because it harkens back to stuff we talked about in previous episodes of bystanders. And if someone is in trouble, like, what would you do? And in this case, Ryu says, murderer, murderer, help. And everyone on the crosswalk immediately turns and starts yelling at Endymion to say, stop, wait, stop him, don't let him go. And I don't know, I wanted to bring it up just because I think in our literal last episode, we talked about that. What would you do in this situation? Would you just, or maybe it wasn't our last, I'm getting our episodes mixed up. But rambling on, yeah, he does try, but then ultimately he leads Ami to the amusement park. And it's almost well, this is the only time I'm going to be able to be with you at the amusement park. He has sort of given up at that point. I think it's notable. I wanted to bring up Ami's statement because it's one of those tropes that sacrificing yourself, like, it's so annoying. Yeah, I don't think it deserves to be a moon moment or even a mini moment, because you're right, it's the same exact conversation they had. And it's just
so frustrating. Like, he could be so such a powerful asset to the girls if he wasn't so, I might as well just die. I mean, like, yes, that's also the same, but also, you have powers, just use them to your advantage.
I will give Sailormoon an honorable moon moment this episode, because her line, I had to stop watching it. I had to pause the episode when she says, if you're going to recycle something, do cans. Don't reuse Ryu and the others for your evil plans. And I lost it. I was like, what did I just read? everyone's speeches can be kind of awkward. Sometimes they make sense, sometimes they're hilarious, and this was just one of them that was just...
Ami actually said something too that I was like, this is really funny. She's like, douse yourself in water and repent. And I was like...
Yeah, that seems to be... Each girl kind of has their own catchphrase. Like, Mercury's is douse yourself in water and repent. I think Mars's is... Mars's is I'll discipline you. So yeah, like, I think, I can't remember what Jupiter and Venus's is, but yeah, each of the girls kind of have their own little catchphrase.
Oh, it's I'll chastise you. I wrote that down.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if it's a product of just the translation being awkward. Like, I assume it sounds much better in it makes more sense in Japanese. So yeah, honorable moon moment to Usagi for just that amazing line.
Yeah, and this is when Mamoru also kind of almost gets turned back. Mm-hmm. It was just so close, and then he gets taken back into the dark side. Mm-hmm. Also, I just want to say that I am really loving Endymion's his whole captain outfit with the...
his prince outfit with...
Yeah, his prince outfit. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's really hot. I was like, oh, I'm not really a simp for a man in uniform, but maybe...
I know this...
Maybe I can jog a little.
Like, it was funny at the beginning of this episode when we're in Africa with Reika, and she just looks up, and he's just standing over her in this prince outfit and the cape, and it's probably over 100 degrees. She's like, excuse me? Like, hello? Also, all of the... I did think, poor Reika... Her passport's in Africa, and she's in Japan. How is she going to explain what happened to her colleagues? And I guess if she went with a contingent from, I don't know, like Tokyo University or wherever she was from, then they would know that, hey, there are monsters in Tokyo, and I kind of got cut up with stuff. Can you mail me my passport? So I can... Shout out to Ami, though. She really got stuff done this episode. She's the one that freed everyone. Sailormoon just showed up at the end and cleansed Endymion.
Good job. Yeah. Good job, Ami.
Yeah, Ami. It's like, look, I don't care about Ryu. He's a terrible psychic. Why can't you give... I want this episode, but instead of Ryu and Ami, I want it to be Luna and Rhett Butler. Like, that is
yes! Yes!
That is what I wanted this episode to be.
Oh my god, still, PSA out for a Rhett Butler plushie. I will adore you forever if you find one.
Can someone rewrite this episode for us as a Luna Rhett Butler episode?
Or has any fanfic recommendations?
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty much everything I had for this episode. Besides the fact that several times this episode, it seems like the Sailor Scouts are just running around Tokyo. Like, normally all of their battles and stuff are kind of hidden away, but there are several times when both Jupiter and Mercury are just running around, it feels like on the sidewalk. And Usagi runs around with Jupiter without being transformed.
Yeah. Keeping your secret identity... not so secret anymore, I see.
Usagi was very funny in this episode. Oh my god, I love Usagi.
There was a part... Okay, so this is the next episode, and I just thought it was really funny. It was where we find out the background of Sailor Venus, but there is a part in the beginning where Usagi is like, oh, I can't sleep, and Luna's like, oh... maybe some blah 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 can help. Usagi just whips out some random bowl of dumplings and just starts shoving them. I was like, you are such a mood. Where did this bowl of dumplings come from?
Look, some people have a glass of water on their bedside table at night. Usagi has dumplings. Or were they dumplings? They look more like pork buns.
I don't remember. I thought they were dumplings, or maybe they are pork buns because she's famous for them. But then she starts choking on one. And Luna and Artemis just completely ignore her. she's like, guys, help. And they're just like...
Yeah, that was definitely the best part of that episode. I didn't like this episode that much.
I didn't really... it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, but that was definitely the
highlight of this. She's just laying on the floor.
Well, the only note I have for this episode that I wanted to bring up, I guess, was, Usagi comes and she saves Venus, and Luna says, "Oh, Usagi, let's get that boat." Usagi says, "I don't know how to drive a boat." And Luna says, use the disguise pin. And so Usagi turns into a sailor. And now my mind is rehashing every single episode that she's used that pin in, because apparently the pin gives her the ability to drive a boat. So when she used it to turn into a cute doctor, does that mean she has medical knowledge now? My mind is now blown from this one episode. And the time she turned into a fortune teller to tell Rei and Yuichiro's future, does that mean she knows how to do all of that now? That she can tell the future?
This makes the whole discussion about Usagi using the disguise pen to prank people even better.
It does. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm sure it's just like a throwaway thing, because they're like, oh, we can have Venus and Usagi get away on this boat, but it's like, oh, a 14-year-old knows how to drive a boat? Like, oh, well, we'll just give Luna a line that says turn into disguise power. But now it opens up like a whole can of worms for every single time she's used this. And some of them, like radio DJ, or she basically turned into like a jazz hipster chick at one point. And I'm just imagining all of the knowledge that just, like the jazz musician, all about the history of jazz that just flooded into her brain from that. And of course, does this information stay in her brain after she de-transforms? Probably not, but I like the idea
of Usagi having this like Barbie knowledge of just part of every single thing. Like everywhere you turn, she is a doctor, she's a lawyer, she's a stewardess. Like she just is everything. But she's still a blockhead and dumb.
Okay, I just imagine her being out with the girls, and they're out shopping or something, and someone collapses, or someone has a heart attack, or they're having a seizure, and she's just like, I know what to do because I was a doctor for 5 minutes. And so she just uses this knowledge that's in her brain to help and stabilize them, and all the girls are standing back being like, what?
And then everyone else is like, what is this 14-year-old doing right now?
Oh, this girl's amazing.
And then they're like, oh, what are her school records like? She must be a genius. They're just like, oh.
Those two things were the highlights of this episode for me. I did not care for it all that much.
Yeah, I mean, it was nice seeing the background of Sailor V before she became like Sailor Venus and everything when she was in London. But honestly, it wasn't one of the episodes that I would recommend people to watch.
Yeah, and plus it's been a while since I read Codename Sailor V, so maybe the audience can help us out here. But I'm pretty sure this whole backstory thing is entirely made up for the anime. I don't think this is what Codename Sailor V is. It would have been awesome if they had pulled in some of that stuff, but it may have been like a licensing thing. Couldn't use anything from Codename Sailor V because that is a completely different property, even though it's related to Sailormoon. Maybe all they knew was Sailor V was in London at one point. That's how this episode came about. It's also interesting because it almost seems like Usagi is going to kill the monster.
Yeah. I was like, why? Like, there's so much convincing on Sailor Venus's part for Sailormoon to not, to like have mercy on this monster. Mm-hmm. this seems so out of character for her.
Yes.
Right? Like, okay, I was like, is this just me, or am I reading into it too much?
It is so weird because standard operating procedure since I don't know how long has been, I guess the Rainbow Crystal arc has been all about cleansing these people of the negative emotions and turning them back human. And as we've seen, even in the episodes preceding this is what Sailormoon does. It is so weird that
she's so vindictive.
And I think it would have worked if there was something about this before. If at this point they knew that Beryl was, and again, I can't 100% remember what is anime and what's manga, and like it's all the canons mixed up in my head, but if they knew at this point that Beryl had a crush on Endymion and she's the reason why all of this bad stuff happened, especially since we just saw her take back Endymion after they cleansed him, this wouldn't be out of character, because Usagi would be thinking, she would be saying to Mina, this woman stole the man you love, but she would really be talking about herself and how Beryl has destroyed her happiness over and over again, past life and in this one. So if they had set that up, it would have been great. It wouldn't have been an out of character thing. It would have been actually kind of a dark moment in the show, especially for Usagi. But it would have been so good.
Yeah.
But that's not what we get. We get a very weird out of character Usagi just like, I'm just going to dust her with my tiara, and Venus begging her not to. And she's like, okay, fine, I guess I'll use the crystal.
Yeah, I think that was another reason why I was just not super happy with this episode. Okay, so the bright spot was Usagi choking on her dumpling or butt.
Yes, bright spot.
And I thought it was finally someone had the same age that they were together. I think they're the same age because it was kind of implied that Alan was older than Minako. And then Katarina is a cop, so I can assume that she's at least in her 20s or something. So I was like, okay, this is a better age-appropriate couple. And there was a line where Katarina and Minako were hugging and being all apologetic, and Katarina's like, I thought you were still just a child. Like, yes, she is still just a child. She's 14.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, there's so much stuff we don't understand. Minako says that she met this guy, Alan, and that she fell for him. But how did she meet him? If he is older, if he's in his 20s, how did she meet him? And how were they together on a regular enough basis that he would have met Katarina, who Minako was also involved with on a regular basis? It just, there's so much that we don't see, and it's something that it feels very...
It just feels thrown together. Like, a lot of this was by chance, and it doesn't work. There are too many plot holes or character holes that are happening for it to be believable enough.
And the show also treats it as such a tragic love story. Minako is letting go of her, first love because he's in love with basically her best friend. And it's like so tragic and so beautiful. But at the same time, she's 14. This is a very, I don't know, because we've seen this younger, older relationship before, like, it doesn't seem beautiful and tragic. Maybe if she was older, if you want to talk about, I wouldn't call it tragic exactly, but super angsty filled, we can have a short discussion of how at the end of season 3, Marinette gives up on Adrian. Because she thinks him and Kagami are better together.
Oh my god, don't even get me started on Miraculous Ladybug, Drucilla. Stop stop. I was yelling at the screen when this happened. Oh, and Luca and... Okay, so, spoiler alert for anyone that watches Miraculous Ladybug. Lucas and Marinette, please. I mean, Lucas, you're hot. Don't get me wrong. But, like, come on.
Luca is such a nice guy. He's such a cool dude. But the show has basically said, in-game is Adrian and Marinette. So stop trolling us. Luca, I love you. And I feel so sorry for you because it's not going to happen. Okay, we got to get back to Sailormoon. Something I did want to note in the Hot Springs episode, because we've got our beach episode, we got our Hot Springs episode, so Sailormoon is, the check boxes are marked. Something that I really liked about this episode was when the monster's attacking Usagi and her family. Usagi, she's not scared. She doesn't try to run away. She stands up to the monster as Usagi and says, "What are you doing? You're interrupting our family trip." And I just thought, oh, Usagi's grown so much. I mean, she's still Usagi. But she's, even in her civilian guise, she's telling the monster to basically F off. Look, I'm here with my family. We're on vacation. Do you know how long it's been since I had a vacation?
The family dynamic with Usagi and everyone, I was pleasantly surprised because before in the previous episodes, it's always her family dunking on Usagi. So it's just really nice and refreshing to see her family actually care about Usagi. The part where they're driving and they're all kind of teasing Usagi about having a boyfriend. And the dad is like, "What? You have a boyfriend? Excuse?" And he's so concerned about it, he stops looking at the road. I was like, would this have happened in the earlier episodes? I feel like they would have all been like, "Oh, Usagi, you and your little brain, maybe you'll find someone good for you." But they just straight up believe her that she has a boyfriend.
I forgot about that part at the very beginning. It's so great. It's almost right up there with the dumpling thing in the previous episode. Usagi just being like, "I got this locket from a boy, you could say that," and then her dad just freaking out on the road. That was pretty awesome. Pretty universal across all cultures, I think. But yeah, I just have family written in capitals and exclamation points because in a lot of anime, we rarely get family stuff. You have the protagonist, you have their group of friends. Even when you have this slice of life, contemporary stuff, you don't see a lot of family. And so it's just, oh, this is nice. Their families together, they're going on a trip. Somehow Luna didn't know about this despite living in the same house as them. And it did make me really wish that we saw their reactions to the whole, hey, your daughter rules the planet in the future, and everyone is sort of semi-immortal.
I can just imagine Shingo being like, "Are you sure? Like, this idiot right here, my sister."
Yeah, I think you've got the wrong person. The wrong person. It's just nice to see family, and her family, they're not great to her all the time. But
they're not the most supportive.
Yeah, but in this episode, they are pretty great. Like, her mom, they have that nice moment by the lake, and then her dad, Brandis is just stick to try to protect his family. Her brother...
And then Shingo is actually really concerned. Yes. He's, looking for her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's that's so cute.
I don't know where the girls come from, but the Sailor Scouts also show up.
Yeah.
Though something I really liked was how they dealt with the monster in this episode, because, yes, it's a monster that used to be human, but it's not a Dark Kingdom monster. And I love that Rei gets to deal with this, because she's able to figure out this monster, she used to be human. I still sense stuff in her. And then Endymion's like, "I'll take care of this because I'm the one that woke her." And Mars is like, "No, this is kind of my specialty." And so she uses the Afuda and then purifies it with fire, and then that's when they have Sailor Moon purify her with the crystal. And I just, for some reason, I really liked that. I like reminders, even though it's super subtle, the reminders of, I guess, Japanese culture, Shintoism, and stuff like that. It's nice.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I like how they keep affirming how powerful these girls are. You know, sometimes you just forget that Rei is this priestess with powers completely separate from being a Sailor Guardian. So that was really cool too.
Plus, we also saw that in the episode where her grandfather gets...
Oh, yeah.
I almost said akumatized. I've been watching way too much Ladybug. When his crystal gets taken, and she doesn't turn into Sailor Mars at all. She uses Inafuda to sort of like stop him in his tracks, and then Sailor Moon purifies him. So I love these moments, these reminders that Rei is not just Sailor Mars, she's also Rei Hino. And she can do the moon moment.
They're powerful in their own right.
Exactly. The moon moment I had in her introduction episode in Crystal, where she grabs Jedi to try and stop him, and he says, "Oh, you're just a human. You can't do anything to me." And she's like, "I'm not just human." And she frees herself and then is able to save the day.
Rei Hino.
Yeah. In short, Rei Hino. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk.
Oh, there was this one line that Shingo says when Tuxedo Mask shows up. And he's just like, wow, look at this tacky freak show. I feel like if Shingo were on something like Say Yes to the Dress or some fashion show type reality thing, he would be so brutal.
Overall, it was a good episode. It's definitely one that I would recommend to watch. I think you can skip the Sailor Venus backstory episode, but this is one that I think it should be watched.
Yeah. If not for the great family dynamic, the powerful reminder of Rei Hino, and Shingo being the fashion icon that he is.
So, 2 more episodes. The
previous one with the Olympic pair couple.
I didn't have any moon moments for this episode.
I didn't have anything.
I had a couple of points. First off, there's an amazing moment at the end of this episode in the sub. And Mako is saying, well, I guess I'll just have to find someone else. As soon as she says that, the music stops. It's dead silent. She's watching this boy walk by, and all the girls are watching her watch this boy walk by. And it's a comedic moment, and a lot of that is due to the fact that the music just drops out. And it's something, I think I brought it up a few times over the course of these episodes, but the sound design in the Japanese version of the show is completely different from the Tik Tok, like the original English version, because there's so much music in the Tik version, but so often in the Japanese version, it's either just sound effects or the lack of music emphasizes what's going on. Obviously, if you've seen the Tik version, there are pieces of music that just stand out to you. I only love when Usagi's revealed as the Moon Princess, but there are pieces of music that are iconic from the Tik dub, and it's awesome. But doing this rewatch with the Japanese sub, it's also kind of awesome what they're doing by not having all of this iconic stuff, because it makes these situations seem more important, or like gives them more gravitas, I think. But here, it's for total comedy's sake. You've got this almost ballad type music going where Mako is like, one day I'll find a guy. And then as soon as she says guy, the music immediately cuts out. And you see this guy in a leather jacket walk by. And she's like, he looks just like my old boyfriend. And I don't know. I just wanted to point that out because I I know I mentioned the sound design and music a few times, and I'll mention again when we do our wrap-up episode at the end of the season. I've talked a lot. I have one other thing, but do you have anything for this episode?
Oh, this episode, so I don't know if there are some Tumblr users out there, but I noticed that this was the episode where Mako has that ripped green dress, and there's a mashup of her and Shaggy. There's a meme that's floating around that's like, I'm afraid we can't be together anymore, Shaggy-kun. Like, why not, man? I will send it to you.
Yes, please send it to me.
But I was like, oh my god, this is a Tumblr relic that I can't believe I'm seeing with mine own two eyes. Iconic. My troll self was just like, yes! I know this. But yeah, that is really the only thing that I have to point out, other than the fact that Mako is a beast. Love her, she's so strong. And the fact that she was able to just pick up figure skating so well.
Oh.
And also...
Oh, I was just going to say, I thought you were going to say, like, when she's a beast and she's able to pick up... I thought you were going to say she's able to pick up the dude.
Yes, I was going to say that. I was like, and she's able to pick him. I was like, that power. Like,
it was also...
Mako, don't go for another guy. Go for me.
You can lift me up anytime, Mako. It was preceded by a tiny part that hurt my heart a little bit when he goes to lift her and he can't, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm heavy. I'm like, oh Mako, no. And then she immediately like picks him up and I'm like, you're amazing.
That's my girl.
But yeah, that little part hurt my heart. And it's also very familiar because, like, as part of PE requirements in college, you could take dance classes. It was kind of embarrassing because there weren't many guys in the class. And so there was always an understanding when I paired with, especially when I paired with another girl, at least it was an understanding to me, it wasn't like a class thing, that I would do the male part because I was so much heavier than all the other girls in class. And when I did have a guy, I was always so self-conscious about it. I was like, you don't have to swing me around. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm so heavy. Like, no, we don't have to do that. So that part of Mako, it was very relatable and it broke my heart a little bit. But then she picked up that dude. And I was like, okay, I feel a little better now.
Tiny Drucilla is just going like, but I can pick you up. And just like... And I just have to say that the whole banking on the Moon Princess being this really gentle, really, what's the word? Just put together, non-klutzy person. They do figure skating, they do skiing, and they just assume that the Moon Princess is coordinated.
See, that's like what we were saying last episode. Kunzite's plans are 100% effective because every single plan, he draws in the scouts, he draws in the Moon Princess every single time. And we can talk about this when we get into episode 38.
The Moon Moment episode.
Kunzite says something like they're so dense, and I think Endymion at one point says, the reason you keep failing is because you're underestimating your opponents. And I'm like, no, he's not. Kunzite is not underestimating his opponents. Like, he is drawing them in every single time. And maybe he assumes that they'll do figure skating because he was popular on the moon. Not necessarily true. They just think figure skating is pretty and they're getting drawn in by these two figure skating. But still, it's like, yeah, like Princess in Training, the skiing Moon Princess contest. It's like what even? And it even says Moon Princess. I was like, how is this not so apparent? How does this not click that y'all are looking for the Moon Princess? You have the Moon Princess in your midst. What is the likelihood of some contest popping up in a ski resort that's in some secluded area? Okay, I have to find this. Hold on. There is this comic, short panel comic that deals with this exactly. And I will put it in the show notes so that everyone can see it. his look in that final panel is just like, see. Kunzite would have defeated the scouts if he had just been there to oversee his plans. He just pops in and out, and I guess he's maybe a good boss because he doesn't micromanage and he relies on his employees, but also his employees keep failing. So...
That's fantastic. They aren't idiots, you know.
Something else from this episode, I wrote in my notes, what is the show doing with Tuxedo Common? Because I guess what they're trying to do is they can't make him too evil because he's going to be redeemed. So they can't have him seriously come after the scouts because they still have to like him after everything is done. And Usagi still needs to be saved, which... This would have been a perfect opportunity if he was coming for the scouts for Usagi to show how she's grown. Look, I don't need you to protect me because I can fight on my own, and I'm going to fight you until I can bring you back to us. And this would have been a perfect opportunity for that. But no, the show has to contort itself and make no sense to try to get Tuxedo Common to save the scouts. Sometimes I'm okay with it. The ski resort episode, when he throws the rose and it turns red for a second and then turns black, I liked that because the memories are still there and he doesn't really know why he saved them. But in this episode, his excuse is just, I don't like that he brings in innocence. And Tux, you're supposed to be evil, man. I mean...
Yeah. Like, that comes up too in the family episode where he's trying to protect them as well.
Same thing, yeah. And it just...
I don't know, I get what the creators are trying to do with it, gearing up for that redemption arc. But at the same time, you're supposed to be heavily brainwashed.
And there is no arc. It's like one episode. It's been a while since I've seen it. I'm pretty sure he just beats the crap out of Usagi, and then she turns him good with the power of love. That's pretty much what happens. I mean, it's much more violent in the manga because I think I'm gonna reread it soon, but I'm pretty sure Usagi pulls a sword out of nowhere and stabs him and kills him, like, which is definitely gave me Buffy vibes. Buffy season 2.
I just love women with swords, so
that's the only explanation, is they wanted him to be evil so he'd go against the scouts, but they couldn't make him too evil. And it's disappointing, you know. It's kind of... They could have done so many interesting things with it, and they didn't.
It's kind of like they could have made him one of those morally gray characters as well. Yes, be full-on evil, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, if they really wanted to do the whole, oh, I don't bring innocence into our schemes, it could be like he just uses innocent people for... I don't know, bait or something, and then releases them. Like, I don't know, I think I'm thinking of Megamind too much now, but...
They could have just made it more of a competition between him and Kunzite. Tuxedo Common is saving the scouts, but he's only doing it to blow up Kunzite's plans. There may be episodes where the scouts don't realize that Tux was involved and that helped them. He's just kind of in the shadows watching, and when it looks like the monsters are going to succeed, he does something to give the scouts an upper hand. And so Kunzite's plan is bust because he wants to be the one to give the crystal to Beryl.
See, that would have been a better edge, like a better angle to go at.
Oh well.
But since we keep bringing up the ski episode, let's go into that one.
So let's start with your moon moment.
Okay, so my moon moment is when Usagi and Rei are in the, like, stuck in the... I see you smiling. Is that your moon moment?
I don't know if it's specifically... Maybe the same... I don't know. Keep going. I'm pretty sure it's the same one.
So Usagi and Rei are finally talking, and the subject of Mamoru comes up. And Usagi is like, oh, I know that this must be hard for you, But Rei is really sweet and so understanding. She's like, no, I understand that you guys had this thing together. And, like, she just very gracefully just bows out and just is, like, so accepting of this whole. It would be so hard for anyone to wrap their head around a past life love, but Rei just does it so gracefully, and she does it in a way that doesn't make Usagi feel guilty about it. And I think it's just so mature. It's something that a lot of people would not be able to do. It's so hard to get over a crush on someone. It's really hard to, like, even just when you break up with someone, like, those feelings are still there and it hurts. And it hurts even more if your friend is the one that your ex-boyfriend falls for. And then you find out, like, oh, they've actually been together lifetimes, like predestined. This was written in the stars kind of love. And Rei just does it so beautifully. And the fact that she's not even guilt-tripping Usagi over it. And Rei is she's great, but she can be a little prickly at times. But she's so soft in this moment. And yeah, this is my mood moment.
No, yeah, that was my mood moment too. Especially, it harkens back to what we were talking about 2 episodes ago, when I think I brought up in the Deke dub, because you had said, I can't believe no one is bringing this up in the sub. And I said in the Deke dub, they do. Because Ami says, I'm so sorry, Mars. This must feel awful. And then I think the next episode, Mako says something to Rei, like, are you okay? Mm-hmm. And here, it's Usagi, you know, she's like, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't be playing this. I'm sorry. Are you okay? And it happens in both the sub and the dub. And something that the dub also does is Rei has a line that says she knows that Darien wasn't really into her, but she just likes the idea of having a guy and going out and doing these fun things with someone. Definitely my moon moments. Also, so as I was watching, I realized that the line that Rei has, and correct me, I'm pretty sure it's in the sub, it might be in the dub, when Rei says, he protected you and he was there for you and, like, can't compete with that. I realized that you could absolutely read that in a Rei Usagi ship way, because Rei is acknowledging the fact, Rei is acknowledging the fact that he was there for you when I couldn't be, and he protected you and saved you, and if it's for you two to be together, then I just have to step out of the way. I've never been a Rei Usagi shipper, but as soon as, like, I heard that line, I thought, it seems like a very romantic line. Oh, it's so great. It's sort of, in a way, goes back to the Venus backstory episode. Letting go the person you really care about because they're better paired with someone else. And I was going to say, awesome, Miraculous Ladybug.
And, like, if we're comparing the two, letting go of a love, Rei just does it so gracefully compared to Minako. I mean, Minako just up and dips, and she basically just
her
ghosts
own
her
death.
two really close friends. She fakes her.
I guess she doesn't fake it because she does get blown up, but she just quietly leaves and doesn't tell anyone anything, so they think she's all dead. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have Rei being, like, super encouraging of this love between Usagi and Mamoru. Minako, take notes. Look at Rei. Yeah. It was just so cute. And then freaking Yuichiro comes in and is like, I made a tunnel, guys. Yeah. My favorite himbo.
What timing? She's like, Mars power, and then he pops out of the thing. And I realized when the monster is going over, you have to be Sailormoon because you're elegant and poised and all this stuff. And Rei's like, oh yeah. Yuichiro in the background's like, Rei, are you Sailormoon? Nobody actually disabuses him of this notion. So does he just think Rei is Sailormoon for the rest of this show?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, every time he sees that the Sailor Scouts are off in battle, he's like, that's Ray, she saved the world, she used that crystal thing.
And then the next morning is him running into Ray being like, I saw you fighting, are you okay? You're so brave. Just like swooning over her.
He brings her breakfast in bed and does all of her chores, and she's like, what is with this weirdo? And it's because he's seen them go toe to toe with a whole bunch of bad guys or something. He's like, I just want to make sure you're comfortable and everything is okay. You know, do you need a foot massage?
A la Mean Girls. Mean Girls mom and Amy Poehler. Oh, and I just have to point out, I think we talked about this in a previous episode, where it kind of gets, like, weirdly fetishy, where Usagi was, like, sniffing the cup was sniffing Matoki's cup. She brings up sniffing again, and is telling Ray that Yuichiro just wants to smell her hair.
When was that? I completely missed that.
I think this was when Yuichiro was, like, showing them the place that he lives in, and this is like, oh, this is my ski resort or something, and then Usagi just takes Ray aside and is like, Yuichiro just wants to smell your hair. Like,
so I completely missed that. I know the scene that you're talking about, but I don't know how I missed that weird line. I think maybe I was so focused on the kind of awkwardness that Ray, because she's like, wow, so you're loaded. I mean, it looks like your family's well off. I was distracted by that amount of cringe that was going on. So I think I maybe missed the Usagi stuff. Ray. I think that was all for me.
I think that's all I have for this episode, other than, I just have to point out Kunzite pulling out a picture of Zoisite and being like, this is for you, Zoisite.
Something, I wrote this down and completely forgot. In the Deke version, there's a line where Kunzite gets really mad at Tuxedo Common and says, I'm only putting up with you because of Queen Beryl. And I thought this sort of goes into something I said I would have liked to have seen. I think it was our last episode, where Kunzite is working for the woman that killed the guy he loved. And he now has this pseudo work colleague who thinks he's high up in this organization, but it's really, he's basically the pet project of the queen. And I liked just this line. I think it's the best we'll get from my wish of having Kunzite kind of re-examine the fact that Beryl killed the guy I loved, and now she's parading the guy that she has a crush on directly in front of me. And I have to work with the douche.
Yeah, that will do it for this episode.
Our next episode will cover episodes 43 through 46. The final 4 episodes, folks. Final 4
my gosh.
The first season of Sailormoon. And after that, we're thinking about doing a wrap-up episode. So we'll...
Cute little bonus
just
episode.
to talk about our thoughts over this first season, what moon moments were surprising, all of that good stuff.
Any opinions that have changed since we first
watched
the episode.
But check out our social media on Twitter and Instagram at moonmomentpod. And don't forget to check out our website at moonmomentpodcast.com. We put show notes and transcripts of every episode on there, so you have no excuse. If you don't like to listen to stuff, you can read it.
Yeah. Let us know what your moon moment musings are. We love hearing from you, and I fangirl over it every time we get a comment. I'm like, oh my god, someone listens to us. You get a constellation prize, and you get a constellation prize. And if you'd like to support the podcast, please rate, review, share, and subscribe. All of that good stuff helps Moon Moments stay afloat amidst the vast ocean of podcasts. I'm Gilsey.
And I'm Drucilla.
We'll see you, Moon. Bye.
Bye. Watch Miraculous Ladybug. It's so good.